hopes that you have for law and healthcare reform for Tanzania?
Um, hopes is I wouldn't go so far as to say I think what is interesting is as given what happened in terms of the election a year ago, and I don't just mean the presidential election, I mean the seizure of state legislatures by the right wing. And so like the Republican overtaking of state and the federal government. I think that this interesting cobbling together of resistance that we have, I think people really want, and like there's like a lot of energy around resisting and trying to be creative in pushes forward in this moment. And so I think that even though there are limitations to some like electoral politics, the fact that there were so many trans people who were elected to city governments and also to a state legislature in Virginia is intriguing, especially given the history of trans people in those positions, which is one up until last week. So that's, or a week, 2 weeks ago. So that's, I think, interesting. Representation is what it is, but I think that there continues to be ongoing resistance to any federal attacks on trans rights, and also statewide there's resistance that so people are able to mostly keep a lot of that legislation at bay. So that's, I think, important in terms of like whether or not there's going to be something passed in the near future that's going to like dramatically benefit trans people like more across the nation. I think that's iffy. I think that here in California, there's been positive legislation. There's been legislation this past year about being able to have a third gender marker on your legal paperwork. We worked on legislation this past year that allows for currently incarcerated trans people to be able to change their name and gender marker while they're inside more easily, without any barriers by the facility. So I think there's, like I was saying, there's just this thing where the sort of naked threat of the Republican right-wing sort of coalition is making people push harder. I don't know if that's gonna like coalesce into this like wave of legal protections for trans people, but I do think that people are fighting to maintain what we've won, which I think is important. And that's, in terms of healthcare, I don't know. Healthcare looks bad for everybody, so can't say particularly that trans people are gonna look out there. But I don't know. We'll do the best with what we got, right?
And that's the interesting part, particularly about healthcare. Everybody is stressed the fuck out about healthcare. And it's like, and when you're trans, you have more stress because it's a lot of times, it's just like, if we come up with what would be considered an excellent healthcare system, they'll probably leave trans out. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it still wouldn't be perfect. You know what I mean? So I think that's the thing about healthcare, and that's the fear that trans people carry, that we're gonna be left behind. So I think the most important thing is we need to be really, really good about coming up with an all-comprehensive healthcare system. And I even think about SB 310, which is the bathroom bill. No, not SB 310. What is that bathroom bill?
Where?
SB 3, the bathroom bill
In
in North Carolina.
I can't remember what it is.
what is it?
I don't know. I don't remember the number.
The bathroom bill where, I mean, it's to the point where it's like they're trying to target transgender people from accessing the women's restroom. That not only puts trans women under a lot of pressure, but that also puts cis women under a lot of pressure. You know, specifically for cis women that have hair on their face. You know, cis women that are 6'2", cis women that might have look like they have a size 14 feet. You know, they're gonna be targeted as well. You know, so it's just little things that people make decisions to hurt one group of people or to exclude one group of people, but it affects so many other people, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand, especially a lot of them hicks in Florida. You know.